Hello, everyone. This is Ronnie. I was at the dentist today and I saw that they're still wearing masks. They have masks. The dentist had masks, the receptionist, and a lot of the patients had masks. And there's not like a lot of pressure to wear masks, it seems, anymore, but it seems like in medical places and in the dentist and the doctors, they're still wearing masks. And maybe that makes some people comfortable or happy, but it doesn't make me happy. But who cares about what I think? But like, it's my so I want to talk about that because I coincidentally saw a video today where someone who's a doctor that had been supporting masks has now accepted the obvious, I'm sorry, but the stunningly obvious reality that masks don't work, because now there's more research that's showing that the masks actually they didn't work. The billions and trillions of pounds spent on masks by governments around the world apparently was all wasted, stupid, utterly stupid, wasted. And this is the problem with us as humans. We do silly things. We all have things that we do, stupid things. We make silly decisions. And sometimes we're happy with that. There are people that like to gamble. They go to casinos. They know they're going to lose their money. It's fun for them, or maybe it's not fun, but it's what they do. Some people do that. Some people want to spend money following a football team around the world, seeing guys kick a ball around the park. And some people want to get into fights and beat each other up. And some people want to fill their face up with things and cut parts of the body off, and all these bizarre things that human beings do. Some people want to go to fruit festivals like me. So people have all sorts of different things that they do, different weird and bizarre things. And people make strange and weird decisions. But when it comes to health situations and we go to the scientists, these great rational thinking, evidence based people, we're expecting to get information that goes beyond our weird ideas and is actually effective. And during COVID, that failed. That completely failed. And I think that part of it, though, I'm not saying that every scientist was lying or whatever, but what's really called into question is the ability for science to actually function properly in in protecting us and giving us the right information. What seemed to happen is at first the information given out was the conventional expert advice that was the same that went back decades and decades. Washing your hands kind of works, maybe a little bit. Keeping at a distance from people, maybe sort of a little bit works. But masks don't really work. Don't bother with the masks. Closing down the borders, none of that's going to work. Um, Shutting down everywhere, that's not going to work. It's not going to change anything. It's already an epidemic virus. It's we can't control it. And our best thing is herd immunity. That's how, from the beginning of time, animals and the human race have been able to deal with viruses as herd immunity. And if it spreads around the young people, the healthy people, and that immunity happens, then the virus doesn't have anywhere else to go, and it peters out. And that's how it works. That's the science. That does not change. That's the evidence that comes from 100 years or whatever of research. During COVID, that all changed because there was a demand, essentially, because of the panic in the public. People were panicked and needed a different answer to that. Therefore, scientists all of a sudden came along that started saying different things. And whether that was for money, power, fame, whatever, maybe they believed what they were saying. I don't know, but it just seemed that lots of these people were happy to say all sorts of weird things. I, looking at the situation, said to myself, how can it be the case that we've had the flu? Everyone forgot about the flu during COVID. It was really weird. Every year, people die of the flu. Every year, people get really sick from the flu. Every year, people get long term negative effects from having the flu. But we just think of it as it's the flu. And we don't shut down the world for the flu. And it had been happening every single year. And in some of the worst years of the flu, like tens of thousands of people in this country died in the UK. I think one of the worst years in records, like 40,000 people had died of the flu. Now, you might say, well, that's not as much as COVID was, but COVID was being counted in a totally different way. COVID deaths were being counted as any death for any reason within a period of time of a person getting a positive test for COVID, not a doctor actually diagnosing the person as they died of COVID. And that's the difference to me between the severity of COVID and the severity of flu seems to be that one of them was that they were counted in a different way. And there are different severities of flu. There are bad years and less bad years. There are also years where there's less vulnerable people. So the year before COVID, there had been a flu year that wasn't that bad. So not that many people died of the flu the year before. So it was kind of due to have more people dying, the older people. So people have been dying of the flu, and yet in no time were we ever encouraged to wear masks. No one was encouraged to wear masks, and no old person was encouraged, you're old, you're vulnerable, wear a mask. My perception was always, I looked at images of people in other countries wearing masks, and I thought, well, we all know that that's silly, supernatural, delusional stuff. And when I was in Thailand at the start of COVID, from the get-go, people were wearing masks in Thailand. From the jump, they had their masks on. Is it like they already had the masks? Like none of us had a mask. But the people in Thailand, like they had their mask waiting. They already had their mask somewhere. So they didn't need to get PPE. They already had it. They're waiting for the next contagion to come along. So everyone in Thailand had their mask on. I was thinking, this is dumb. No one's going to do that back home. No one's going to be this dumb. No one is going to be this dumb. And obviously I was wrong about that. Totally wrong about that. And no offense to people in Thailand, but I don't know, the Thai people or the Thai culture must be very over on that edge of concern about those things, because they were shutting down beaches, like you couldn't be outside. Like what? This is a really hot country. Like no one was dying of COVID, but they were shutting everything down. Silly, all stupid, and all mandated by scientific authority. It was a terrible 2 years. A lot of people had a great time, actually. The people that said, I've had a great time during COVID, I was like, what the hell? What's wrong with you? What's your life like the rest of the time? People are like, it's great. I don't have to go and see people. I can be on my own. I can watch Netflix and just order food in. Like, how is that great? I didn't get it. So, but some people were staying at home, got paid, didn't have to work. It was an utter holiday camp. For a bunch of people, it was a total holiday camp. Internment camp, but a holiday camp. And then another bunch of people were like, their life was being destroyed. Like they're people with like hotels or pubs or restaurants or all these kind of people. Their life was just being destroyed in front of their eyes. Meanwhile, there's all these greedy people coming in selling masks, and all these scientists coming in making up a vaccine. Like, yeah, we've got a vaccine that works. Honest, it really does work. Where's your evidence? Well, we made the evidence up. Like, But the government by that point were desperate for a vaccine because everything had been funneled towards the only answer is a vaccine. Pure religion. It was total religion. It was a big mass panic of people moving, chaotic, looking for something, and the answer was, you know, Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, the life, the only path to heaven, or whatever. You got to repent, and it's all the same stuff, the same psychology. And that's why religion, I really would like to be part of a religion more and enjoy it more, but it's so human. That's what I struggle with religion. Like, it's meant to be spiritual, but it's so human. It's rituals and ceremonies, and the human part of me likes all that, and community and the singing, and the human part of me likes all that. But where's the spirituality? So, COVID seemed to me like another ritual, another ceremony, a whole myth fantasy playing out in front of me, and watching everyone going mad for it. And unfortunately, there was enough of this science out there to convince people that, oh, look, there's this science and this science, and the government's saying it, and this authority and that guy on the news. And it's like the high priests of the religion proclaiming the truth. These characters playing the roles of the high priests, the wizards, and everyone just lost their mind. And no one thought, well, what's happened the last 80 years, 100 years when we've had flu, when people have been dying every single year? People die all the time of viruses. People get injured and get ill and get sick all the time of viruses. And the idea that it was this one virus called COVID that never changed, that was the same thing for years, like, did even the thing that was originally called COVID, did it even last longer than the first month, or was it already gone? Was it already mutated? This is the thing about. That's the other thing. As far as I was aware, our whole, if you studied in school or like vaccines, which you get in science, and we're talking about vaccines. How come we don't have a vaccine for the flu? How come we don't have a vaccine for the cold? Well, the problem with that is that they're always mutating. And it's a different cold, different flu every year, so you can't have a vaccine to get rid of it. Yeah, how did we all knew that? Like, why was it all of a sudden scientists like believe in this idea that you could create a vaccine for a respiratory virus that continually mutates? How were they buying into that? Doesn't that go against everything that they knew prior to that? This is what I don't understand. How did so many of these scientific, rationally intelligent people go against what was the conventional, what was, I thought, like the main idea around these things? We all knew that you can't have, we've not got a vaccine for the flu, we've not got a vaccine for the cold. We all knew that. And apparently we all lost that information. And we all lost the fact that, well, we've never had to wear masks, weirdly, but people have been dying all the time of the flu. That's bizarre. We've never shut down. We've never done anything. And the one thing is that people say, well, the severity of COVID was worse. But I don't think we really know that because of the way it was counted. It appears to me it was counted to inflate the numbers. I can't understand any other path. Like, you're not taking a diagnosis from a doctor that the person died of COVID. You're taking any death with a test of COVID. How reliable were the tests? It all starts to unravel. The tests, these tests were created by this guy, his name Kerry Mullis. And Kerry Mullis invented the test as a Nobel Prize, and he was saying, the test doesn't really confirm a person has the virus. Like, they have particles of that virus in them, but it doesn't really confirm that they're sick from it or they're suffering from it. So everything was bizarre. The tests, all of a sudden, we'd never had tests like that. Never had this idea we're going to create a vaccine for flu. We never had this idea we better all wear masks. It was all a completely going against the grain of what was accepted as standard ideas around this. Now, how is it that some of us can see that? Some people were just lucky because they're conspiracy theorists and they go against everything they hear, right? So those people are right once in a while. But it's not good to just be a conspiracy theorist about everything and think, well, if the government says anything, it's wrong. That's not that's not a good way of making decisions. Or if I hear something scientific, it's wrong. That's not the right way to do things. That's not the right way to think about things. But a lot of the conspiracy theorists were right in this situation to some degree. They also added in all this 5G stuff and all this other thing that isn't really part of it. But if they were against the masks and all that, then they were right about that. But that's not really how a lot of us approached this and came to our own conclusions and came to conclusions that are now being proved to have been right all along. It's because we had an education in health and the causes of health, and we had an understanding and an education in it that allowed us to avoid the irrational, emotional, strange behavior and allowed us to make our own decisions on these subjects. What I understood from the start was I said to myself, well, this probably isn't going to affect me as much, probably, but it's going to affect people that are unwell. And it proved to be the case that the people that were mostly being affected were older people who already had pre-existing conditions. They were already unwell. The pre-existing conditions were lifestyle-related diseases mostly and obesity. High blood pressure, obesity, and lifestyle-related diseases, diabetes and heart disease, essentially, also cancer. But the main things, the simple main things that are the things that kill most people, that are the things that take away people's health, that are the things that take decades off people's life. It's the same stuff. There's nothing like bizarre and unusual generally in health. There's very few people that have these really weird, strange, unique diseases. Most people suffer and die because of the same things. Most people are wrecking their health in the same way that everyone else is. So I realized that probably if people changed their diet, this would help. If they lost weight, this would help. Most people do not accept that. And that's where they go wrong straight away. They don't accept the dietary connection, the lifestyle connection to health. And during COVID, we had very little, almost no message about improving your diet or losing weight. Drinking more water, nothing. There was nothing. Be more, like, sleep more, be more hydrated, eat better, lose weight. There was never any push for that. And yet it's the most powerful thing that people could have done. It's still difficult and sad for me that people are on that track with their addictions, destroying their health and will not change. Destroying their body, destroying their health, putting themselves in pain and misery, and all the people around them supporting them to do it. It's madness. Utter madness. And the only way to get yourself out of the madness is to educate yourself and be open to the fact that, by the way, it's your fault. No one wants to accept that. Like, if you're sick, there are times when it's not your fault because it's, genetic or random things. But a great deal of the time, it's your fault, your responsibility. And I don't mean your fault as in you intended it, but it's your fault as in it was your actions that caused it. But people don't want that awareness. It's very difficult. It's like the problems that I have in my life, it's hard for me to accept. Oh, it was my fault. But every time I have to try and accept that. It's my fault. Why was I late for that? It's my fault. Why did I fall out with that person? It's my fault, Why was that not organized properly? It's my fault. I need to take that. And it's painful, and you don't want to hear that. Who wants to hear that? It's their fault. No one. But that's what's empowering. Once you go through that thing of going, oh, it's my fault again. It's my responsibility again. The other side of that is realizing that means I have the power to change it. That's the other side of it. And the awakening of this education around raw vegan diet, about the creation of health for human beings, the awakening of that is what frees us up from all this, all the bizarre behavior and bizarre thinking of the crowd. Unfortunately, that didn't free us during COVID because a lot of us were still stuck inside with everyone else. Weren't allowed to go to the gym like everyone else. We did put the fruit festival on though, so the fruit festival still ran. But this is it's real, and it's a very controversial subject. Some of you probably very much disagree with me on these things, but I think over the course of time, it's absolutely right what I'm saying. So that's my thoughts and opinions for today, my little rant. Feel free to subscribe if you want more. Feel free to put down a request below for a video topic, and I'll speak to you in the next video.